Hi, my name is Taylor Toby. I'm an OpenSciEd teacher and facilitator, and I'm going to discuss with you Lesson 10 from the 8.4 unit Earth and Space. This lesson is my favorite of the whole unit. Even though if you understand the science behind it and know what's going to happen, this investigation is still exciting and fun to see every single time. So how did we get here? In the previous lesson, we figured out that during sunrise and sunset, the sun gets dimmer in brightness and the color seems to shift from yellow to orange to red. And we believe that's because the amount of atmosphere it passes through is causing this change. When we look at lesson 10, we see that it is an investigation lesson. It's 1 day in length. It's about 20 minutes of prep. It's a hands-on investigation, does not require a device, but there is an additional lab video that you can view that shows you the results of this lab. When looking at this lesson, students will figure out that white light becomes dimmer and redder the more particles it travels through. And that leads us to wonder what else we could figure out about light. What students will figure out in this lesson is that when you shine a flashlight through a simulated atmosphere, like a tub of water with different amounts of particles in it, that original white color becomes oranger or redder the more atmosphere or particles it travels through. And then from above, you also see this like bluish tinge to the atmosphere when the light is shining through it. Something to keep in mind, we are not talking about that red shift of very distant objects in space. We are only talking about light changing color the more atmosphere it passes through. That red shift in color is something that students will investigate at the high school level. So let's look at a key moment in this lesson. So part 4, where you are co-constructing a model to explain the results, have students describe the motion of the light before they start using vocabulary terms. You may have students that had experience with the 6.1 unit of light, where they've learned that light can either transmit through an object or reflect off of it, but not all of your students may have had that experience. So if you have them describe the motions the light can pass through or the light can bounce off, then go in and add those vocab words for transmit and reflect. And you may have them say like, oh, it seems to bounce off, but just go in every direction. And then you can add that extended vocab word of scatter in later once they understand really what that light is doing. I highly recommend visuals here where you are drawing the path of light to show those motions for transmitting, reflecting, and scattering. So where do we go from here? We have really interesting ideas about white light and different colors that we can see in light. And we were wondering why there are different colors of light after it passes through matter. We want to see if we can go back to our related phenomenon and explore more of those changes in color to see if we can better understand what's going on. Some material management tips and tricks. So for this investigation, if you have several back-to-back classes where you need a quick turnaround and you don't have enough of those shoebox tubs where you have one for each lab group through the whole day, I highly recommend having 2 tubs per lab group. One, you keep just plain water. You never add the milk powder to it. That way you don't have to dry and clean it out and refill it every time. You have a clean water tub. I recommend marking it with colored tape. That way students don't get confused. And then you can have another tub of water marked with a different color of tape that students dump out at the end of class. The next group fills up and they add the milk powder to that. It just makes it a little bit quicker so you don't have to worry so much about how clean each lab group leaves it for the next group. And at the end of the day, you don't end up with some milky water from the start. I highly recommend it. It is very important that you clean out those tubs at the end of the day. Leaving any bit of milky water to sit overnight results in some awful smelling lab materials the next day. So if you have a dishwasher, throw it in there or rinse it with as hot as water as you can get, lots of soap, and dry it out so it can sit and dry even more overnight. Definitely test out your flashlights beforehand. Different lights shift a little bit differently than others, and you want to be sure you know what color your students are most likely seeing when they look through each side of the tub with the milk powder in it. Word wall management. We will earn the word scatter in this, where the light is reflecting or bouncing off in all directions. And words that are coming back from previous units that we are bringing back up is reflect and transmit. And you'll want to add those to your word wall as well, especially if your students have not had the experience of 6.1 previously. Poster management. We are going back to that color change poster again. And you have the option to have a poster that summarizes the results from the investigation. I find that very helpful and useful, going back and referencing, especially as we are getting close to the assessment for the end of this lesson set. Thank you so much in joining me in lesson 10. I hope your students were as surprised about the redshift in light as I was. It's just really fun to see that difference. It's very surprising, even though you know it's going to happen. And I look forward to talking with you in lesson 11.